I grew up in a beautiful, devout Catholic family of 5 kids. When I was young, my incredible parents, Andrew and Colleen, joined a Franciscan-based community of Catholic families called the Brothers and Sisters of Charity. I had a thoroughly Catholic upbringing, daily Mass, parents who gave me an example of daily prayer, and numerous family retreats every year through the community. I had it made, and I had no idea. Because of the intentionally Catholic environment in which I grew up, I was always open to the idea that God might be calling me to become a priest. The fact that my grandpa had spoken so highly of his years in seminary, and my dad had seriously considered seminary, made it all the more natural for me to be open to God's will. When I was in 6th grade, I heard a seminarian say something that I'll never forget. He said, "Seminary is a place where boys become men, where you're formed as a father." He then went on to explain that every boy must become a man and a father, regardless of his vocation. His words convicted me, and from that night forward, I began to consider seminary as a real possibility. During my sophomore year of high school, I was invited by Father Bill Vaganis, himself an SJV graduate, to come on a Vianney visit. So, a month after my 15th birthday, I first stepped in the doors of St. John Vianney Seminary. I immediately felt welcome here. I loved the sound of 200 men singing. I loved the vitality of the Joliet fraternity. I was amazed by how normal the men were, which is ironic because at that time I had completed a whopping 3 months of part-time public school. But what struck me the most about the men at SJV was that they were striving for something great, that they were boys in the process of becoming men. But even after a second visit, I never considered coming to SJV right after high school. I had other plans. Ever since 6th grade, my family had been hosting net teams, groups of Catholic college-age missionaries who travel the country putting on retreats. Because of their witness of prayer and community, I decided that I was going to serve with net right after high school. I stayed true to my plan until my junior year, when I appealed to net knowing that I was young for my grade. But because of Virtu's reasons, I ended up being a month too young to even apply to serve with net. So I made a new plan. Go to a community college for a year, then serve with net, and then maybe enter seminary. However, the summer before my senior year, I talked about my new and improved plan with Father Dennis Spies, my sister's godfather and a net alum himself. And he essentially shot down my plan and challenged me to seriously discern going to seminary right out of high school. Because of my immense respect for Father Dennis, I took him up on his challenge and dove into actively discerning my vocation. I joined Father Burke's discernment group, which went through the classic priestly discernment book to save 1,000 souls. I began to go to confession every other week instead of a few times a year. I began to see the Mass in a new way after someone told me to receive Jesus in the Eucharist every time like it's your last time. I would go to adoration every week and experience a longing on my heart to stay with Jesus. I began to pray this prayer every day. Jesus, I want to want what you want. Even if I don't want it right now, even if I'm afraid right now, help me to want to be what you want me to be. But the most important thing that I did during this time was commit to 10 minutes of silent prayer every night. Even though I rarely got anything tangible out of my prayer time, the silence allowed me to recognize God much more readily in my life and see his nudges to go to seminary. On Christmas morning of my senior year, after learning that joy was a key indicator that you were following God's will, a family friend walked up to me and said, "Josh, you've been more joyful recently." But the final straw came when I went on a retreat and Father Dennis gave a talk about the intimacy of priesthood, specifically in hearing confessions. With a growing sense of joy and peace, I applied to the diocese and was accepted as a seminarian. I was and still am confident that God called me to seminary. And if I can continue to grow in my relationship with the person of Jesus, I have a growing confidence that he'll tell me his ultimate plan when the time is right. Brothers, There is no substitute for silence. Through his presence in the silence, may Jesus form each of us into the man and father he has called us to be. Praise be Jesus Christ.
Amen.